Hi, I'm 𝗚𝗂𝗃𝗁.
Hi, I'm Yi and Ee Ning.
We graduated in 2021 this year. Yeah, that's this year.
Yes.
I'm going to 𝗘𝗶𝗴𝗴 at tax in the tax and private client department at 𝗏𝗏.
I'm headed to 𝗘𝗶𝗵𝗵𝗲 for general litigation. Yep.
Okay, that's the first question.
Okay.
Second question. What were your grades like in year 1 and year 2, Yi Ning?
Okay, they were very terrible, to say the least. I can't remember the exact figure, but I'm pretty sure it was not anything higher than a 3.2. There were a lot of Bs and a couple of Cs. No As throughout year 1 and year 2 Sem 1, I guess, yeah. Actually, a couple of Cs. Yeah, not some Cs. Yeah.
Okay, wait. Pause. As in, do I have to pause? But so do we ask each other like all the questions?
So like for example, you ask her,
Uh-huh.
and then you can just like quote him like, as for me, mine.
Yeah, no, you never watch our grandfather's story.
Oh, I never leh. Oh, okay.
Okay, so you can just read out the question, right?
Oh.
Okay, let's say you read out the question, you say what were your grades like in year 1 and 2. You can answer first. You don't have to ask me.
Right.
Yeah.
So we just take like half the deck each.
Can also.
Can also,
Okay.
right? Yeah, lor.
But they're numbered, so.
Okay, yeah. So after I finish with mine, then like you just start to ask me.
Yeah.
Okay. So as for my grades, in year 1 and year 2, I think I had like straight Bs. I had some C pluses for really big subjects like property. So that was quite painful. Yeah.
Yeah, I got a C for thoughts.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Okay. Were you discouraged or stressed by your grades? Did it make you feel hesitant to apply for internships?
How about you answer first?
Okay. I think like honestly yes, because I was seeing like all my friends getting all the Big Four internships during the internship application season. So for me, like I had a very average year 1. So for me, year 2 Sem 1 was like the semester to get things right lah. But then after getting like C plus for property, honestly it was quite feels bad and sort of I felt the weight of reality sort of weigh on my shoulders. So I had to settle for perhaps non-Big Four internships, which was a mindset that I had to snap out of, because for the most part I wanted, like my whole idea of getting an internship was like, okay, let's go to Big Four and all that. So having all these, looking at the cards that like I have been dealt so far, I had to sort of come to terms with that lah. Yeah. Did it make you feel hesitant to apply for internships? Actually, I think it did the opposite. Like it made me look harder for like the non-Big Four internship. So I was looking at, okay, who were the best in a particular area. So let's say I was like, so I did quite well for company law. So I was thinking perhaps I could apply for an insolvency law niche internship, right? So I applied to, and I think they were very upfront. They were very accepting lah. So that was quite encouraging. And then I was looking at like, okay, what other fields of law was I more interested in, like IP, all that. So I tried my hardest to find like those firms that were not Big Four, but they were like, let's say Band 1 or something like that. And I suppose having looked harder, I didn't like the disappointment of not getting Big Four was was
Crushing.
was not as heavy, was not as demoralizing. Yeah.
As you thought it would be.
Yeah. What about you?
For me, I think everyone starts law school feeling like they have done something pretty great in their life, right? Because you spend secondary school, JC, working up to, oh, what are you going to study in uni, right? And you go through supposedly very stringent interviews to get into law school. So you kind of think, okay, I should be okay in this environment, right? And for us, we didn't have exams in year 1, sem 1. So throughout the whole semester, I just felt like just an ordinary student, right? I was keeping up with lectures, with tutorials and things like that. So when my results came out, I was shocked, but I wasn't necessarily very discouraged lah, because I've never been a very stellar student my whole life, yeah. So I was always in the middle, so it wasn't that big of a shock to me. But I think I did feel a bit more stressed out looking at other people's grades, or when people asked for my grades and they would just be like, oh, it's okay, still got next sem. But actually I thought I was okay with my grades lah. Yeah, or I felt like it wasn't that big of a deal, but it seemed like the people around me were quite thought quite highly of your first few grades lah. Yeah. Did it make me hesitant to apply for internship? Not necessarily, because unlike 𝗔𝗶𝗴𝗴𝗀, I think I never went into law school with the idea that I need to be working at a Big Four, or I need to be interning at a Big Four. So the approach that I took with applying for internships would have been the same even if my grades were better, I think. I would have just gone for medium-sized firms or smaller firms, especially my first 2 years. Yeah.
So I guess the follow-up question to that would be, what kind of practical steps do you take to overcome your disadvantage, in terms of grades? Yeah. So, how do you frame your CV or resume, cover letters in a manner that sort of played up your strengths apart from your grades?
I think I was just very straightforward and forthcoming with my academic performance. I knew that because I did an internship before I started law school, when I was in JC or whatever, and because I had that experience, I knew that there were a lot more things required to be a good lawyer, right? You don't necessarily have to be book smart. There are a lot of things like how do you connect with people, how do you connect with clients, how do you form good relationships with other people in the legal industry, things like that. So I was just very forthcoming about my grades, and I just talked about my other perhaps more attractive aspects of my law school career lah, like leadership, like sports, and the fact that I was always very willing to learn lah, and I was a hard worker and things like that, and I've always been interested in law, things like that. Yeah.
As for me, I think the single best thing that I did for my CV or cover letter was meeting Genevieve. I'm not trying to upsell or something or trying to sell this thing, but I think prior to that, I thought that my CV and cover letter, they were solid. I was adding all these things inside my CV and cover letter that were I thought very impressive things to showcase about myself. Then Genevieve, right? So when I went to Genevieve, she gave me a cold hard reality check lah. She was like, all these things, right? Nobody really cares about these things. Okay, actually, I don't know whether she actually said that, but that was what I got out of the whole session, right? And then she was actually very invested in the progress of my like how I was going to edit and craft my CV and cover letter. So I went to her for her sessions 3 or 4 times. And then I think by the end, she was telling me, your grades are quite average, but you have these other things that you are, let's say, meticulous or like whatever stuff, right? Like all these words, you gotta tie it down to some real life experience. So actually I was an OGL with Yi and Ee Ning. So Yi and Ee Ning was like my freshman orientation camp leader. Vice chair. Yeah, so I mean all these experiences might seem quite lame on paper, but I think to like a future employer, these are things that I think they look out for lah. And actually the devil's in the detail and like how you phrase it. You can phrase it in the lamest of ways, right? And then it will get you nowhere. So after I went to Genevieve, like she really like changed it up lah. Like really it was quite solid lah. Yeah. And yeah, so I would actually advise people to you know just give it a shot, you know, just give her a shot, like, you know, you never know, you know. Yeah, and I absolutely like don't regret that. Yeah. And when it came down to actually drafting my cover letter for theses, right, I had help from my seniors and my girlfriend, who was actually like working already. So they were telling me, you know, nobody cares like like what you actually they do care about what you do during the internship lah, but then you gotta be quite punchy about the way you present these things. Don't just say that, oh, I drafted this, I drafted that. You have to tie it down to like a skill that you want to showcase about yourself. Like, let's say you are good at collaborating with some people. You perhaps want to say that, like, oh, I was in this project, I liaised with so and so, I discussed this with so and so, I met so and so. Yeah, tie down to like something. Yeah, so perhaps another practical step that I took arising out of this was to, you know, just reach out to your seniors. You might be surprised that like more than a few of them might be very forthcoming and might be actually quite willing to help lah. Yeah. Okay, next question. Okay, was there anything in particular that kept you grounded or sane during highly stressful periods? Okay. First of all, okay, I like to spend times with my friends outside of law school. So that gives me a little perspective into what I'm doing. So let's say I have like some friends, okay, not let's say, I do have some friends in the F&B sector. So I hang out with them. They tell me about their plans, their troubles, their aspirations. So after a while, it put all these things into perspective, you know, like I was struggling in school, yes, but this is not like the real world yet lah, in a way. And like these friends of mine, they are about my age, some even younger, and they have like all these concerns that I cannot even imagine myself to have right now, because I'm just in this environment. Not to say that like, okay, being in law school is like a bubble or whatever, but I think it's perhaps you need like a healthy dose of, you know, stuff outside of law school. Yeah.
To bring yourself out of that headspace.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually in law school, I was quite fortunate to have a very tight nucleus of friends. So apart from like studying together, like we will make it a point to, okay, let's try this new place like this weekend, right? Let's try this coffee place, let's go to that restaurant, let's just hang out. Yeah, and yeah, I must thank them a lot lah for that. Yeah. What about you?
I think for me, I was very fortunate to have had my 𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃 friends in year 1 and year 2. Because we also had the 𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃 room, so I felt that we could really use that time to just like decompress and just hang out and have fun. But honestly, thinking about this question, I don't suppose I had many ways to like really get through stressful periods. I think I just knuckled through them, which in hindsight probably wasn't the best thing to do. But also, I think in those times I could still find friends that were willing to be there for me, willing to share notes, willing to help me take the burden of some things, blah blah blah. So yeah, definitely formed a lot of very deep friendships in law school. Yeah.
Okay, how do you handle toxic competitiveness amongst your peers?
So even though I have deep friendships, right, I don't really have a lot of friendships because my way of dealing with toxic
competitiveness amongst your peers. Yeah.
The way I dealt with toxic competitiveness was just to cut myself completely off of it, right? I had a few friends at the start of law school that were very overly so. They were just talking. I think perhaps also because their families had lawyers, right? Or their siblings came to law school, blah, blah, blah. So from the start, they were always like, oh, I'm going to like go to Raja and Tan, I'm going to go to Yi and Ee Ning, and then I'm going to make partner by 30, that kind of thing. Even smaller things like, oh, you mean you haven't done this week's tutorial? Like, wow, so slow, that kind of
yikes.
Thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, damn yikes. Yeah, so how I dealt with it was that I really just I tried to steer away from those topics, especially outside of class, right, where we didn't necessarily need to be talking about these things. I would just say, oh, okay, what are you doing on the weekend? Stuff like that. But if I felt that these friends were still very, very, very academically oriented, even like just 24/7, I would usually just remove myself from that situation lah. Yeah, and I think it's important, like what Shu said, to have friends outside of law school, because I think in law school you get very caught up with chasing grades, right, chasing internships, chasing the big names in the legal industry, but actually and I think you get very caught up with, oh my goodness, law school is so hard, I'm never gonna make it, everything's a struggle. But when you have friends outside of law school, you really realize that everyone is struggling lah. No matter what you study, whether it's law or business or whatever, everyone goes through hard times, and everybody's exam periods are stressful. Everyone's school life is stressful. So it's really just, I guess, understanding that there's more to life lah, right? You shouldn't be competing 24/7, which sometimes can be the case in law school. So you sometimes have to take yourself out of that.
Yeah, I think I dealt with that, with this toxic competitiveness quite similarly to how Yi Ning did. So yeah, I had like friends outside of law school, so I think they were, and like my family, my girlfriend, whatever. Yeah, so all these people in my life outside of law school, they sort of gave me perspective on what it means to achieve in law school. Like let's say okay, like this friend of mine just opened a new cafe out there. Wow, fantastic, new location. And then I'm like, okay, my assignment got B+. I'm not too sure how to. Actually, now I know like how valuable this B+ is, how valuable, or okay. So now I know how valuable like a good grade is, and conversely, perhaps a bad grade it is not the end for your law school career or your law school journey. I think I'm like I am digressing a bit, but in terms of having perspective, right, perhaps it could help that because like normally in year 3 and year 4 you can choose to do like 12 MCs or like KR mods, and you have like this whole electives thing coming in for like even in law school. So first of all, you're going to like do things that you do, the subjects, study like the subjects that you are interested in. For the KR mod, you like for the KR mods, you can pick those mods that are like easier to score. So in terms of pulling up your cap, right, it is not the end of the world if you do badly in year 1 and year 2. Yeah.
Especially your core modules, which
Yeah.
sometimes you don't even have that big of an interest in, right?
Yeah.
That kind of thing, yeah.
Like, to be honest, I mean, 𝗘𝗶𝗴𝗴𝗽, okay, as in, make no mistake, I thought that it was quite interesting, but let's say, you know, like in future practice, how
Say
like
no more,
how,
say no more.
you know?
Yeah.
But I love my tutor. She's the best. No, she is the best. Yeah. And actually, 𝗘𝗶𝗴𝗴𝗽 was my best grade in year 2 sem 2. So, you know, here goes. Yeah.
I guess one thing I want to add on, besides physically removing yourself from conversations about basically just toxic work culture, toxic study culture, I think it's very important to remove yourself mentally also. I think you also have to make sure that what people are saying about what toxic things people are saying don't actually become a part of your subconscious thinking, right? I think it's very easy in law school to measure everything by grades, measure everything by dean's lists, and how smart a person seems in class. So sometimes that is our only standard, and sometimes you find yourself adopting that kind of very toxic behavior, that kind of toxic thinking processes. Like, I will never amount to anything unless I do this, right? Or unless I meet this standard. But actually, talking to friends outside of law school, especially friends who come from very different backgrounds, was immensely helpful for me, because you realize that actually, as long as I focus on doing my best, as long as I stick to my own lane and I just try my best, there's really no point thinking about whether I'm gonna who's on the dean's list, and things like that. So I think I came into law school with a very strong conviction that I just wanted to help people, right? I just wanted to help people in society. And talking to my friends outside of law school, these friends who perhaps, should I say my friends got arrested? like okay now I have friends that are very that are from very, very different backgrounds, okay? Yeah, so so they have problems in life that perhaps you realize that you don't have to be the best law student to be able to help them out, right? And it's not just your friends. You can just be doing pro bono. You can just be volunteering somewhere, and you realize that I don't have to be the best student to set out to achieve what I set out to do, right? I don't have to be the best student to be able to dispense good advice to certain people, things like that. Yeah, and I think that's very important to make sure you don't to remove yourself from that kind of competitiveness in law school, because honestly, yeah, it just doesn't help anyone lah. Yeah.
Okay. The second deck of questions. What mindset do you have to unlearn throughout the entire process? I think first and foremost that Big Four is not everything. Alright. It is not the pinnacle okay, it should not be a pinnacle by any means. Yes, they do the best. Some of them do the best work in the country, yes, right? But there are many places out there that are very competent, that do high quality work, and it would be a waste if you just relegate them to some sort of second tier mess of law firms. I think that's not true lah. And actually, in the process of unlearning that, you might actually discover that, you know, in these other law firms out there, apart from the Big Four, there are so many things for you to learn. Like, So as I have personally like discovered lah, so I went to a niche, small boutique firm. I went to a firm that specialized in, let's say, IP, and I went to an international like law firm. I mean, not the biggest, but you know, you get a flavor of what it is like. So, you know, just having the idea of Big Four as everything, you know, it can be quite myopic, and it might rob you of some opportunity to learn. What other mindsets?
For me, I think I really had to break the mindset that I always had to have things together. I always had to seem that I was very in control of everything, right? So, how do I say this? I think we all start from somewhere. Even the biggest lawyers, right? They start off as students who don't really know anything, and even the biggest lawyers still sometimes take on cases that, when they first look at, they're like, what do I do with this, right? And you realize that sometimes the biggest losers, the biggest lawyers, they still lose in court, right? They still like mess up, things like that. The mindset that I had to unlearn is ask if you don't know, right? You don't always have to be that one person who knows everything about law, right? And I was surrounded by some of these people at the start of my law school journey. People who somehow always had their tutorials done like super fast, right? The people who knew what kind of law they wanted to practice, who knew what kind of firms they wanted to go to, who knew basically how to get through law school without any obstacles, right? With just basically going through law school smoothly lah. And so I felt that sometimes I had a little bit of like imposter syndrome, right? Like, why am I here? I seem like quite a big mess. I can't keep track of deadlines, I can't finish my tutorials, things like that. But everyone struggles in some way lah. Yeah, and you don't always have to pretend that you are perfect, that you have stuff, you have things together. Just ask if you don't know. It's really okay to admit and recognize that you are on a learning journey, and this learning journey may never end lah, even after you retire from law or whatever. So you should just make the best out of it while you're on it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, for your internships and your TC interviews, what do you think you did well that got you your offer?
What I did well in my internships,
Internships and TC interviews.
Oh, in my interviews
or internship lah.
Is it just interviews or internship?
Both is fine.
Both is
Okay.
Okay.
Internships first for me.
Yeah.
Because I know for
internship.
yours it's the same, right? Like, because after you intern, then
Yeah.
they interview you.
Who are you talking to?
You.
This light is too bright. Oh, yes.
So your 𝗘𝗶𝗶 internship, and afterwards, like, it was the interview, right?
Yeah.
You self-offered?
Yeah.
You even mentioned that you got your TC after you interned.
Because
Okay.
you also did like internships before that, right? Like,
Yeah.
before,
I think what I did well, I think I just showed that I was very willing to learn, and I was not that kind of stupid know-it-all intern who just thinks, okay, I'm just going to use my luck skills in this internship, right? I really tried to go out of that box of just legal research, kind of stay at your desk, wait for people to assign you work, then you just do a memo for them, you submit. I tried to, sit in on client meetings, try to, let's say if you're going to court, prepare the court back, make sure I know how files are handled, right? File management, the firm SOP. I think I really went out of my way to try and understand what being a lawyer is like, rather than what being a legal intern is like. So I think a lot of people go in to internships with the idea that, oh, okay, I'm just going to go there and do 𝗙𝗑𝗃. I'm just going to write some legal memos and things like that. But I think I went in knowing that this is what I want to be doing after I graduate, and so I should start learning whatever I can. And I think that really, maybe that impressed some of the lawyers that I worked for, because they realized that I was willing to stay committed to a certain file, for example, or was willing to connect with a client and things like that. But ultimately, I think I just tried to be myself, because I didn't want to overpromise, didn't want to underpromise. I didn't want to portray myself as this extremely smart student, right? Because, okay, first, my grades are not there. But second, I know also that I'm not the smartest person out there. And I know I shouldn't try to be the smartest person out there. So just, just having fun, asking if I don't know. During my interviews, just try to be myself. Talk about what I think. Just talk about some of the viewpoints that I have lah, instead of just rehashing some script. Yeah, I really tried to converse with the person who was interviewing me.
Yeah.
How about you have very interesting stories about how you were a great intern?
Oh yeah, I think I did one thing similar to what Yi Ning did, which is having the right mindset like going in. So for me, I knew that my grades were not good. So all that I have to offer, right, is the sort of like interaction that I have with the people there. And I had to make the most of like this FaceTime lah. So instead of thinking like a legal intern, like do 𝗙𝗃𝗃, I think I had to sort of have the mindset of like a trainee or even an associate. So what would an associate do? How would an associate like respond, or how would an associate reply this email, draft this memo? It can be the smallest of things, like your phrasing in your email, how you engage your partner, like the boss, right? Oh no. Yeah. So I had to go in with the mindset of thinking like an associate or a trainee instead of a legal intern, whereby I think some of us might go into an internship thinking like, okay, I'm just here to draft some stuff, proofread, whatever. But you'll be amazed at like how many things you actually do, how many times you actually have to engage with the partner. And for me, that was the only thing that I could put on the table. Like my grades are average, like bang average. So I thought that I had to go in and impress them. I had to think like someone who is already in the team, and that gives them like a nice I think that might help in giving the people there like this comfort level of like, okay, this person might want to join my team in the future, and I can see a future with this new guy. Yeah.
I think part of acting that you are part of the team is also about showing responsibility, right? I think a lot of interns is just one and done, right? You do this legal research and then submit the memo and you're done. But I think if you try and put yourself in the mindset of, okay, what if I'm actually working on this case? I think you will be able to show a lot more responsibility for your file. And then people are more likely to trust you with things rather than just trusting you with research. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think some people dread, working overtime. From my internship experience, actually I worked overtime rarely. Like, I rarely work overtime. I mean, if like the office hours are 9 to 6, maybe 7-ish, I mean, that's still quite decent. But I think occasionally, right, some of your associates or your partners might ask you, oh, we have a meeting at 7:30. Do you want to join? I mean, I would say yes lah, because first of all, it is not very common anyways. They probably still think of you as an intern. I mean, they know that you are an intern. But I think these are like sort of golden opportunities for you to show that, you can take charge of a file. You are interested in what they do. All these things, right, you can't sell it on paper. They know it lah. Like they have to feel this connection. Yeah. And I think that's what I think we did well during the internships. For my 𝗘𝗶 interview, I didn't really have it. So I did a few internships in my year 2 summer. For my last internship, the partner called me into his office for like a chat several times. I think that was just to, actually on hindsight, I think those were sort of
to test the waters,
mock interviews to test the waters, see how this guy reacts. And then before the end of my internship, I was sort of offered lah. So that was great, I was quite happy lah. Actually very, very happy. So like
You wanna talk about your Excel spreadsheet? Was it Excel, or like you just took a note of all the stuff that you did in previous internships?
Oh yes. There was
the details of it, if you are comfortable with it.
okay. Yeah, so one other thing that I did during my internship was to keep a log book. I mean, not a log book, but like a Word document or something, or like just a notes file in your phone of what I did and what I learned. It could be just a one-liner, Let's say, drafted an email to the associate. Then the associate told me, you might want to rephrase this way because it has these implications that are better or they are worse. So like, don't do this or do this, So I just made like a one-liner note. So over the course of the summer, right, of the summer internship season, I think these things sort of snowball, and you sort of get better at the basics, because these are sort of like the basics that they expect you to have, but no one teaches you that. You sort of learn it in a piecemeal fashion, and if you don't consolidate these things, it is quite easy to just lose track and just not improve lah. Yeah, and
actually I think that's very important advice also, especially if you're unlucky enough to be doing your internships from home. So I actually interned with my 𝗘𝗶 firm for a month a few weeks back. Yeah, basically just helping them on a high court case. But because of COVID, I had to do it entirely at home. And yeah, it was very hard lah. And I think if you're ever stuck in that situation, you should really try and do what 𝗚𝗂𝗧 did. And I think what I unconsciously did also, which is to check in with yourself at the end of every day or the end of every week. What have you actually learned? if you're not learning enough, can you be asking for more things, right? How can you make your best out of this internship experience? Yeah. And I think even as an intern, you encounter a lot of files that are similar, or even as a lawyer, maybe you get certain disputes that seem quite similar, maybe same points of law or same factual scenario, things like that. So actually everything is quite transferable lah, as long as you consolidate and you actually remember what you've learned, rather than you draft one affidavit, then you feel so good about yourself, right? Then you go back to law school, and then you completely forgot what you've done. Yeah.
Actually, if I may add on to that, right, this logbook has one other function. If you see like for this internship, you learn only a handful of stuff, maybe don't apply to that firm. Because like maybe they don't trust you enough. Okay, maybe it is a reflection of your skills, of your performance as well, that they don't trust you with enough work. But I mean, you could look at it the other way, right? Like, you don't have to think of yourself as like being at fault. I mean, yes, try to have an open mind, try to be open to learning new things, and then I think if you are comfortable with that internally, right, this logbook is sort of like an objective indicator of how much you have learned and how much the firm is willing to invest in you. It might be inaccurate. It might be just like a way to like tell myself that like, okay, maybe I'm not so suited for this firm. Maybe it's not because I'm not performing well. But yeah, do it. Just do it. Yeah.
Actually, I think it's important to, maybe this kind of logbook also helps you keep track of what kind of cases the firm receives, and whether it's the type of cases that you want to work on. I think it's very important. I think most firms, they are really just looking for a fresh perspective, right? They're looking for fresh eyes. They're looking for maybe a younger lawyer with perhaps their own unique perspectives on things, right? So you should really strive to be that person for the firm lah. So yeah. Should we talk about okay. Actually, I think it's also important to be mindful of what firms you apply to. For me, honestly, my advice whenever juniors ask me about my advice with 𝗘𝗶𝗴𝗵𝗲 is quality over quantity. I know some people think, okay, you should just apply to everything and then see what sticks, right? See who gets back. But for me, I really, really tried to do research into the firms that I wanted to do an internship at, right? So I looked at their website. I asked people about firm culture, things like that. Instead of just going with the flow, going with where the majority of law students are going. For example, applying to a Big Four just because everyone else is, right? I was very conscious not to get caught up in that, because I didn't want to just get a 𝗘𝗧 for the sake of getting a 𝗘𝗧. Right? For us, our training will be 6 months, but for you guys, it's 1 year. So that's even longer, right? So you need to be at a place where you feel like you are valued, where you feel like you can add value, where you feel like you can stay for a longer period of time. And I think that has to start when you're applying for internships or when you're doing your internships, right? You have to really, really try and find the firm that suits you most. So yes, definitely quality over quantity, and don't need to feel like, oh, my other friends are applying to 20 firms, I should be basically sending emails to that number of firms also. You can I much rather I would advise you to just put in more effort in each of your applications and each of your interviews for, let's say, a smaller number of firms or a smaller pool, rather than just giving the same generic cover letter to everybody and see who replies.
Yes.
Okay, your friend didn't get into a firm that they really wanted. What advice would you give them?
I think like what, it's okay.
You should say that directly to the camera.
It's okay.
It's okay.
I mean,
I think
That's
it's
your answer, that's fine too.
I mean, it's not lah, it's not lah. I mean, I have some friends, I do have some friends, I did have some friends who didn't get a TC immediately. And it was in the whole, so after 1st of September, in year 3 Sem 1, all the interviews just come in, right? So like you see people in your class just wearing black and white.
Oh yeah, I remember that period. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, and then they're like, oh shit, I cannot, I have to leave early because I got interviewed at so and so firm.
Yeah.
And then you're like, like
Stuck
I
in
don't have
your
anything, you know?
tutorials.
Yeah. That cannot feel good. I mean, we don't have to sugarcoat it. For internships, I mean, I felt that way for internships lah, not for TCs lah. But for internships alone, like it was actually quite feels bad already. Like everyone was like, hey, I got E and G whatever. I got R&T here and there.
You want to talk about how you break the HR?
Oh yeah. In terms of advice, right? Practical advice. I cannot say that I understand you. I cannot say that like I feel these things. Okay, actually I did, but for internships. But I think it will be quite. I mean, firstly, be there for your friend. Don't be a. Just be yourself. You know, just be a normal friend. There are no magic words to, I don't know, comfort or get that person a TC or an internship. Cannot. But after you are done being a friend, you can unload some practical advice. So what I would advise my friend is that, you know, okay, for internships, you don't have to apply for the structured internships. So there's like a window whereby everyone applies for the structured internships. I think that's like start of year 2, Sem 2. Then everyone gets their internships, right? And I think the window ends, let's say, mid-Feb. Yeah. Actually, right, you'll be surprised to know that there are actually unstructured ad hoc internships out there that are, you know, like even in the big 4 firms. So personally, after the year 2 internship application season, I didn't get any big 4. So I had to come to terms with that. But then a part of me felt that, okay, I really want to know what it's like. Everyone says that it is very good. Everyone says that the work that they do is fantastic.
Pantry very big.
Huh?
The pantry very big.
The pantry very big. Like I want to know how big the pantry is. I want to know, you know.
Yeah.
Like what's the, like, so I want to debunk the myth of the big 4 for myself, right? So I just called the HR lah. I was like, do you have any unstructured internship that you can offer me from this date to this date? I can take unpaid, I can take whatever department, just slot me in. So HR was like, okay, fine. So I emailed them like 13 departments that I was interested in. So I actually had a scattergun approach lah.
Yeah.
Just see what sticks lah.
Just because you wanted to see what
Yeah.
before was like, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And they are like, okay, we have this internship at this department for you, unpaid, 2 weeks. Sure, just take it lor. So I took it lah, and it turned out to be one of the best decisions that I made lah. So in terms of, okay, so the practical advice is this: don't be discouraged that you didn't make it in the structured internships cycle, because I think that's not how the market works there. Like there are many slots that are open if you look hard enough, you can find something.
Okay, so dig
Yeah.
deeper. How do you
Deeper.
yeah, how did you apply in your email?
How did I apply in my email?
Yeah. So
Okay, first of all, I had a Genevieve CV and a resume, so I was armed to the teeth, right?
what do you say in your email though?
What did I say in my
Like,
email?
please take me. I
No
know
lah.
I am.
Okay, so I called them. I called the HR. So there was some indication that they had these unstructured internship positions. So she told me to, tell her what departments I'm interested in. So she didn't tell me how many So I just gave
Just
like more than
whack.
10. I just whack lah. I just whack. So I just said, we spoke. Dear so and so, we spoke on the phone. Thanks for I don't know, considering my
plight.
my interest in your firm. I think you have to show that you are interested also. I mean, just say in a couple of lines, I am very interested in knowing the culture of your firm. I don't think it is pretentious in any way, because I mean, I really had an interest to see what a Big Four is like. So just be thick skin a bit lor. Yeah, it's not as easy as it sounds. I think I wouldn't tell someone be thick skin lah. Like it's something to be learned overnight. But just take a leap of faith.
Yeah.
You never know lah. You never know. Yeah.
Yeah. I think this also relates to the question just now about what mindsets I had to unlearn, and what I said about like imposter syndrome, right? I think a lot of people they stop themselves from applying somewhere because they think they won't be good enough, but actually you will be very, very, very surprised with how kind some firms are, right?
Really?
In taking people of different backgrounds or people of different academic standings. I think you'll be very surprised to know that actually you don't have to be top 50%, top 30% just to get internship at Big Four. If you really are interested, if you really want to go for it, you should just apply and see how. If you get rejected, rejection sucks lah for everyone, and especially in law school, where I think a lot of people come from top schools, right? They top their cohort, and so they're not very, very used to failure. But then they come into law school, and then suddenly firms are not replying them and things like that. I think that you get a bit dejected lah, but just stay in your own lane. Focus on what you really want. Don't make the choice for someone else. Don't think, if I was the hiring person, I looked at me, I wouldn't accept me. Don't have that kind of mindset.
Yeah.
If you really want it, you should just go for it and see what happens lah. And if I have a friend who really wanted a certain firm and they didn't get into the firm, I will honestly just say that sometimes it's just not your time, or sometimes you're just not what the firm is looking for, and that's okay, because maybe they're looking for a very particular kind of person, or maybe they're not even looking for to hire anyone in their department. So it's really not your fault. Just try your best. Just take whatever opportunities you can take, and it will come lah. It will come. Yeah. And I think a lot of people are very stressed, right? They think like, oh, what if I by the time year 4 sem 2 I won't get a TC, right? But I don't think that's very, very uncommon. Firstly, it's very, very rare. There are always a lot of firms out there. Even if you get rejected by all the Big Fours and all the mid-tier firms, right, you can still go to a boutique firm for a TC and still learn a lot, right? Because perhaps you are trusted with more things, or perhaps you get to go to court more often. And I know of seniors like that who went to boutique Chinatown firms, right? But after that, after their traineeship period, they immediately went to Big Four, because in that period they had learned so much and grown so much as like an advocate or a lawyer or whatever. So it's not like you will be stranded lah, honestly. I think just know that you'll be alright in the end. You will get a TC somewhere.
Yeah.
And just try for it lah. Yeah. Be thick skin lor.
Thick skin.
That's a real life hack though. Like,
Yeah lah. Yeah. I mean,
applying out of the normal application season.
Yeah. And I think in the process, I also learned not to take myself too seriously. Sometimes, like, if I take myself too seriously, I'm like, okay, I am Big Four material. I am law school material. I am this. I think everything. I don't know. Throughout law school, I think law school has made me more cognizant of the fact that everything that I am today, like my skills, my sort of outlook on life is like sort of like earned and sort of gained along the way.
You started from somewhere.
Started from somewhere. So like I didn't take myself too seriously. Thick skin, apply to you never know what might happen. Yeah.
So my advice to his friend, it's okay. It's okay.
It's okay.
You will find a TC or you'll find the internship. Yeah. Just trust the process. Trust the process. Try your best. Yeah. Okay, on the piece of paper, write down a note to a junior who is worried and anxious that they haven't heard back from any firm for a long time. Read out each other's answers.
Wow.
You
Okay.
don't have to write an essay.
Okay.
Huh?
Point form will do.
Yeah.
Point form.
But I need more context. So is this junior's grades as bad as my grades? Or is it the kind of junior that very OP?
I think a junior who would not have heard for a long time, which means that.
But they
probably
applied to
not
many
very good.
places.
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably below average.
Okay. Don't set lah.
Such a heavy thing to write, I feel like. Okay. I think it's the same things that I said.
It's okay. It can be the. I mean,
Can be the same
it can be
things.
the same thing. It's just condensed, like
You can have an encouraging
The
sentence.
essence or whatever you
Mm.
say.
Yeah.
What? Trust the process. Is this junior still interested in law school? like,
Assume yes.
okay.
Junior chill or not?
What? Junior chill. What?
okay, context. Like okay, maybe to be more specific. Let's say it's like near exams. Let's say year 3 sem 1 near exams. Haven't gotten a TC yet. Have exams upcoming. Like maybe went for a few interviews or rejected. So, like, what would you? And then like they can't really focus because like exams are near, and then like at the same time you have this at the back of the mind.
They're constantly comparing themselves because all their friends are like, oh, I got TC, so here I'm here. What about you? Yeah, that kind of junior.
So we read each other's
Yes.
Okay. And after we read, then we explain. So I read hers, then she explains. Okay. Yi Ning says, don't scared. Just keep going only. Lol, but seriously, everything happens for a reason. Don't get too caught up in how many have rejected you. You have a lot to offer, just maybe not in those firms. You'll find the right firm eventually.
Yeah.
Self-explanatory.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
People are too stressed, man. People are just I think a lot of people think that you really will just grind hard in law school, right? That you will never find a TC firm. But chill, bro.
Chill, bro.
Chill. It's really it's not that hard. Just manage your expectations. Don't always have to think, oh, I need to be the best of the best. I need to be in the best firm. Just chill.
Yeah.
And like if you think about it, I have friends in let's say NUS business or FSS that are clearly having school is tough for them, but also they have a lot of fun also doing things outside of school and doing things outside of their semesters, like internships or part-time, stuff like that. But for law school students, I feel like we're always in school, right? We're always with the same group of friends. We're always doing the same things. We are spending our holidays on internships. So don't stress too much about it lah. Just enjoy your 4 years. Everything will be fine at the end. Yeah. Just manage your expectations. Yeah. Okay, she says, all the best for your exams. Try to focus on one thing at a time. Your friends and family are here for you. Try to be open-minded. You will be surprised how many nice people are out there. That's nice.
Okay, so actually I took quite a long time to write this like very short message because actually I made quite a few cancellations. I was thinking about should I advise this person to do something, or should I advise this person to then I thought, actually going back to I think one of the first few responses that we had in this interview, I was talking about, you know, having a life outside of law school, having a support system outside of law school, having some perspective into what you're doing. Then I thought that if you are stressed in this track, right, perhaps you want to fall back on what you're comfortable with. Your friends, your family, they'll always be here for you. And if you have too much on your mind, it is an indicator to me lah. So when I have too much on my mind, I would stop everything. I'll be like, okay, what do I have to do now? You know, the one thing that I have to do now, let's do it first. Then I clear these things. I get rid of these things out of my So basically, I just have some more breathing room lah. And I thought that to be a very effective stress management mechanism for me to, you know, focus on the things that are important now. Yeah, so I said, you know, try to focus on your exams for now. Yeah, because don't let your interviews try not to let your interviews affect your performance in school and the other way as well.
Yeah. And it's something you can't control, so sometimes it's very subjective, right? Sometimes maybe the people interviewing you on that day like not in a good mood, or maybe they're just really not looking for people, or maybe sometimes their HR is just very slow. Yeah, so who knows, right?
And you know, like the feeling of helplessness one factor might be that, you don't feel like you are in control over what you are doing. So, you know, just lashing out at these interviews, you know, at your exam preparation, you know, it cannot help to make you feel more in control. So I would advise this junior to you know, stop. You know, have a break. Chill. Fall back on your friends, talk to your family. And I said right at the end, you'll be surprised at how many nice people are out there. Actually, there are a lot of people out there that are willing to help in one way or another. Yeah.
And not just in law school, I think a lot of people who are actually in practice already, they know how tough it is to be a student. Yeah. So yeah, be open-minded lor.
Okay, next question.
Do you guys mind repeating the question so that at least, because we were just talking, we were giving them the context, so say the question and then after that so we can cut and put it in. If not, they'll be like, who are you talking to? So maybe just say the question, just mention the point that the juniors like having exams, comparing himself to a lot of his friends. Probably this is like a year 3, sem 2 kind of thing. Which got sem 1 exams. It's not got 𝗘𝗶𝗱𝗏 yet. Anything else you want to add about this? Yeah, but just to say so that they know the context.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Write down a note to a junior who is worried and anxious that they haven't heard back from any firm for a long time. Read out each other's answers.
Okay.
Do I have to talk about more
Yeah,
information?
I think so. Maybe you should say that like, oh, this junior is having like exam.
Okay,
So, like,
can.
so like humanize the junior so
Okay,
that they
okay.
can like relate. They'll be like, oh,
Okay,
that's
okay.
me. Something like
Okay.
that. Yeah.
Okay, so let me start again. Write down a note to a junior who is worried and anxious that they haven't heard back from a firm for a long time. Read out each other's answers. So I guess this junior will be like year 3, Sem 1, year 2, Sem 2 exams. And yeah, probably they applied to a lot of places but didn't hear back from any. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
okay.
The next question is, looking back, what was your biggest takeaway from the entire experience?
Sorry, can you repeat the question? Yeah. I thought the camp. Yeah.
Okay.
The previous question.
No.
Looking back.
Looking back.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Looking back, what was your biggest takeaway from the entire experience?
Biggest takeaway. It has to be one of the being open-minded,
Being thick-skinned.
thick-skin. Okay, this is like a soft skill lah. This is like internally. I think I learned how to take myself less seriously. Because once that happens, everything sort of cascades quite nicely. So I became more thick-skinned in, let's say, for my internship applications. I didn't really care about I didn't really care so much about what people might think of me. Like, oh, you are a student with average grades. What can you offer me? No. So yeah, I just thought that, if I don't have that pressure of living up to some expectation, it really helped me to be more in the moment, be more how to say be more in the moment and be more conscious of why I'm doing what I'm doing. Yeah.
Actually, my point is the same as she is also. I think my biggest takeaway from my internship application experience and from my law school experience is really to focus on yourself and really not subscribe to things that people are saying you should subscribe to. For example, that the Big Four is it should be your only goal, right? Or that you should be making the dean's list, or you should have a TC by year 3 Sem 1 or year 2 Sem 2, that kind of thing. Really focus on yourself, stay in your own lane, and I think cut yourself some slack lah, honestly. For me I throughout university I also had to do a lot of part-time jobs, and I had to earn money for the family and stuff like that. So for me, in year 2, year 3, I finally realized that, okay, maybe I don't have the starting point, the same starting point as most other students in law school, right? And it's likely that a lot of people have their own problems at home. So you shouldn't be expecting to perform at, the same as your peers, right? You should just focus on what you can do, focus on what you like to do, and yeah, everything will fall into place lah. Really, yeah. Yep. And also you should try and do orientation at _CC.
Yes. Yeah.
Or just
It's quite
do
fun.
something law school,
Yeah.
like just extracurricular, I guess. Doesn't have to be in law school. You can just go and volunteer somewhere. I think it really puts into perspective what you're doing in law school, or it really helps you to meet new people, and sometimes that's important when law school gets quite tough lah and quite competitive. Yeah,
Have a life.
have a life.
Really go out, drink, watch dramas. I don't know,
Yeah.
do something that you like to do lah.
This is your last schooling experience, right?
Yeah.
Your last time as a student, so
Yeah. So make the most of it.
Yes.
Mm.
Okay. Last one. Any last words?
Any last words?
You can like wish your juniors were
Oh yeah.
like
All the best for your 𝗘𝗶𝗴𝗴 applications, and try to have a life. Watch. There are some really nice dramas that are out there now,
Like what?
like Hospital Playlist. I love it. Okay. Yeah. Try out that new cafe. You know. Eat some nice stuff. As in, I love food, so like everything's going to be food related. So, yeah. What about you?
Same lah, same. You
Mm.
you only have your this one life, right? And you only have this one experience in law school. Don't take yourself too seriously. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Take care of yourself. Yeah, just
Yeah. All the best.
yeah. It'll be okay one.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, it's a wrap.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
thanks guys.
Oh.